So much for joining us. Well, good evening, future pirate families, and welcome to our virtual enrollment information meeting. Both COVID and the weather have kept us from meeting in person. So I'm sorry we don't have you here with us at the school, but we want to share all the great information about Peak Charter Academy, and we are happy to answer any questions you may have. You can type those in the chat, and our fabulous school ambassador, Jen Hankins, is here to respond to those, and I'll also go through them as well before the end of tonight. So please keep a live stream going of typing any questions you'd like to have answered, and we definitely will make sure we have those for you. Well, welcome to Peak Charter Academy. We are a kindergarten through 8th grade public charter school located in Apex, right near the intersection of Highway 64 and Highway 55. We always like to start out with a few basic facts so you know about us and who we are. Peak Charter Academy is absolutely a public school. We have no cost, no charges, and we are authorized by the State Board of Education. We are governed by a nonprofit board of directors, just like any other school district is. And we are under the oversight of the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, specifically the North Carolina Office of Charter Schools. Our nonprofit board of directors made the decision, a wonderfully wise decision, to partner with National Heritage Academies to manage the day-to-day operations of our school. NHA is located in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We have close to 100 sister schools throughout the country. And this year at Peak, we serve approximately 761 scholars here. The very cool thing about Peak Charter Academy is once you're part of our family, you are here for the long haul. You can stay all the way through 8th grade. Even though we're a public school, we are not a part of the local system, so you never have to learn about being redistricted or reassigned or being capped out of your school. And if your child who gets in has siblings, they get priority to come in when they are ready and able. Welcome to those of you again who just popped in. I can see the counter moving. If you have any questions during today's presentation, please put them in the chat box. Our school ambassador, Jen Hankins, is there in the comments and she'll be able to answer them. And if you missed our opening, my name is Steve Pond. It's my honor and privilege to be the principal here at Peak, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you have at the end of this brief presentation. I mentioned our board of directors partners with National Heritage Academies. National Heritage Academies, or NHA, is our education management organization who runs Peak Charter Academy on a day-to-day basis. They operate not only kindergarten through 8th grade schools, but they also have high schools now under their supervision throughout the country. We're in 9 states. We have close to 100 schools now. We serve, as I mentioned, 761 scholars here at Peak, and we are well over 60,000 scholars throughout the country, all of whom are learning at our amazing sister schools. NHA has a very simple mission, and that is to challenge each child to achieve. We want to make sure that nationwide at any of our schools, no matter where our scholars are learning, that we're all focused on meeting this mission and this goal for all of them. At Peak Charter Academy, our founding board of directors who manages Peak and only Peak, they hold the charter to operate Peak Charter Academy with the goal and the mission of developing our students to become critical thinkers, active collaborators, and eager contributors to their learning, which gives them the wisdom they need to excel and be successful in college, career, and life. So that's our focus. It's always been what drives everything we do. We want to do right by our scholars and prepare them for what lies ahead for them, no matter what will be. Peak Charter Academy opened 5 years ago. Our first year was 2017-18, and we're very honored and humbled to receive some tremendous recognitions from the community and nationally as well. Some of you may have seen on our website and our Facebook page that we've been named the area's best public school for 3 years running, and we have the opportunity to be named that again this year. We've also exceeded North Carolina growth and student performance expectations. In our very first year, we met growth and we received a grade of B, but then very quickly in 2018-19, we became an A school. And as an A school, we're performing in the top 5% of the entire state, and we exceeded the growth expectations that were given to us. So that was a phenomenal job by all of our scholars, our families, and most of all our teachers who are really committed to working with your students as they come here in the future to make sure they succeed to the best of their abilities. We've also been named Hulafrog.com's most loved charter schools, and they run those annual most loved awards and give them out on Valentine's Day every year. We've been humbled to receive that the last 3 years. And on the left and right of your screen, we have been named a national model school in each of the past 2 years, 2020 and 2021. This is by an organization called the International Center for Leadership in Education. It's a division of Houghton Mifflin and Harcourt, which merged. They are book publishers. You may recognize those publishers from your own school days. So HMH, or Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, now operates the International Center for Leadership in Education. We were named one of 15 schools nationwide in 2020 and had the incredible opportunity to repeat as a model school in 2021. And we were one of 16 schools in 2015 one of 16 schools. 2020, we were the only charter school in the nation named. 2021, there was us and one other charter school. So we're really happy to represent charters from all over the country. We were the only school from North Carolina in each year. And most recently, our middle school was named one of U.S. News and World Report's top charter schools as best middle schools for 2022. So that's all a testament to the great work of our students primarily, and the support of you as incoming parents and our amazing faculty and staff that we have here at Peak. We're also featured in the most recent Carey magazine. Carey magazine publishes an Excellence in Education edition each year, and that's out on the newsstand. So if you want to check that out the next time you're at any of the libraries or retail stores or grocery stores or banks or anybody else who has that, or if you come by Peak Charter Academy, we have Carey magazines available. Each year they have a selection of local schools and districts who are awarded this Excellence in Education recognition. And we are named again Peak Charter Academy, so you can read and learn more about us as well. One of the really cool things this past year, you may have heard that even though all students throughout the state took their end of year assessments, the state of North Carolina did not give out the report cards. The report cards are those things that we earned an A on and we exceeded growth on in our most recent report card. They did not do them in 2020-21 because there was no state testing. 2020 to 21, we did take a test at the end of the year, and the performance was reported, but it was not designated in a report card. So this really great website called School Digger does take and compile and analyze all of the schools' individual performance data at the end of each year. And based on our school's 2020-21 performance, because all of our students did take their end of grade test, we ranked number 32 out of 1,471 elementary schools throughout the state. We ranked number 23 out of 733 middle schools throughout the state. And because we're a charter school, we are the only charter school in our own district. So Peak Charter is not only a school, but it's a district in North Carolina, as are the other charter schools that are already operating. And we are compared to every school system across the state, whether it's Charlotte-Mecklenburg, Durham Public Schools, Wake County Public Schools. So we are lumped in to be compared with them. And Peak Charter Academy ranked number 6 out of all school systems and public charter school districts across the state. So if you go to schooldigger.com, you can learn more about that. That is strictly aggregated school performance data. So it is very concrete, and it gives you a great insight to the great things that we've done here at Peak over the last 5 years, but especially during the year of the pandemic, which was 2020-21, August of 20 until 2021, June, when we got out of school. This is indicative of the high quality learning and teaching that goes on at Peak Charter Academy, even during a pandemic. So wanted to share that with you as well, and encourage you to visit School Digger as you continue to look at the best schools for your family to choose. I have the incredible honor of working with a fabulous administrative team here at Peak. We are a kindergarten through 8th grade school. So I partner with 3 different deans, each of whom manage a wing within the school. So Connie Eastman, who is our kindergarten through 2nd grade dean. She's worked here at Peak as a kindergarten teacher and a 2nd grade teacher, and she has lots of teaching experience in her background. She oversees all of the teachers within that wing who teach kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, as well as any interventionists who work here at our school. Casey Gorman, who's at the top of our screen, has taught lower elementary as well as upper elementary, and she's the dean and the administrator, the manager for our 3rd through 5th grade wing. So all of the teachers in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, as well as all of the teachers in our full comprehensive special education program, and all of the paraprofessionals who work to support our special education scholars, are under the supervision of Dean Gorman, who provides incredible support, knowledge, wisdom, and guidance to them. On the right side of the screen is Mr. Reggie Pate. He is a 6th through 8th grade dean, so he manages and oversees our middle school here at Peak. And Mr. Pate was an incredible middle school teacher here at Peak, so he already had the relationship with our students and the partnerships with his colleagues, and he's done a fabulous job this year in middle school. So those of you parents who have incoming middle school students, you are in great hands. Mr. Pate not only oversees middle school academics, culture, supervision, but he's also overseeing all of our beginning teachers. So any teacher we have, the handfuls that are new or in their first 3 years of teaching, they get a lot of support and instruction and guidance from Dean Pate, as well as one of our fabulous 3rd grade teachers, Ms. Supernaut, who oversees the beginning teacher program as a peer for those teachers. And again, my name's Steve Pond. I've been here since before Peak was open. I started in 2016 to begin to plan and develop Peak Charter, and we opened in 2017, and I've been here ever since. So some of you may not be aware of how a charter school works. I mentioned earlier, we are the only entity called Peak Charter within the state. We are not part of any other school system, which makes us our own school district. We actually report directly to the Department of Public Instruction and the State Board of Education, who gave a charter to operate our school to our board of directors. So if you want to learn more about charter schools, I want to give you this image of a house. So if you think about the home or apartment or condominium, townhouse, wherever it is you live, it has a foundation. The foundation for every school across the state is the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, the State Board of Education, and all their guidelines and the state and federal laws we have to follow. NHA, National Heritage Academies, is the education management partner with whom our board of directors partnered with to create Peak Charter Academy. And they're guided, and each NHA school, the almost 100 throughout the nation, are guided by these same 4 pillars, which build upon the foundation and hold up the house. So the first is our moral focus program. And once we pass our lottery, we're going to have specific meetings that really focus on each of these things. The moral focus is a collection of 9 virtues that guide what we do at Peak Charter Academy each day, each month, and throughout each year. Every month has a focus virtue that we study. For example, January, as we're coming back out of a lengthy winter break, we're working to finish up our second quarter, which actually ended last week. The virtue is perseverance. So every day throughout January, we're spending time in the morning. It's an actual class period that we built into our school day at Peak, and we're focusing on studying perseverance. And National Heritage Academy has actually created a department within our curriculum and instruction team that focuses on developing a course and a scope of sequence of study about the moral focus. So it's a really strong part of what we do. It is the first and foremost prominent pillar, and we'll talk a lot more about that in another meeting after the lottery. Parent partnership is huge here at Peak. I know one of the things before my son joined me at Peak was that his previous school, they really started to push parents out and push them away, and they really didn't want that partnership. And I felt that as a parent, as did friends of mine who had their children there. And so we really want to make sure that you feel welcome and that you are a part of Peak Charter Academy. If you've been on a tour, you see our parent room, which is the first room you see as you come into the foyer when you enter the building from the doorway. That parent room is for you. So if you're here to volunteer, if you're here to help out in our cafeteria, work in a classroom, all of those things are available to you. Now, we do have some limitations now because of COVID, but we do hope things get back to normal soon. But we want your partnership here. We meet with you at least twice a year with every parent of every child in the school on a parent-teacher conference to make sure that you know how your child is doing, where we can support them better, where we want to partner with you to support them at home, and it really helps our scholars to succeed. Academic excellence is very unique here at Peak Charter Academy because we have a dynamic instructional model that is unique to Peak. It focuses on differentiated instruction, which has been one of my primary professional focuses since 2001. So over 20 years now, I've been focusing and studying and integrating that into schools where I've worked. So we primarily are focused on differentiated instruction, small group, and workshop based. So we're delineating different activities throughout the school day and each class period for our students to engage. And we do that in set time limits that match their focus and their attention span. And each of those workshop activities is differentiated, which allows us to meet their needs, whether they may be struggling, whether they're proficient but have room to grow, or whether they've already mastered that concept and they need a great deal of challenge and enrichment. And after the lottery, there's an entire meeting just about how we do things so uniquely and dynamically here at Peak Charter. And then the last of the 4 pillars, and the most important to your children, is the student responsibility. We want to teach them to take accountability, to be responsible for their choices, their actions, not just their behaviors, but their academic focus and their commitment to learning and studying, their commitment to engaging with their peers, because we do a lot of group work and a lot of activity and a lot of project-based learning. So those 4 things are NHA's 4 pillars, and you'll learn a lot more about them in the meetings that follow after you're admitted into Peak and offered a seat at Peak. Now, those are the same 4 pillars that are at every single school across the NHA network, but what's different is what each individual school looks like. Now, if we were together, I'd ask you to raise your hand, and you're welcome to do that if you want to have a stretch. But I would ask, how many of you have flown into Raleigh-Durham International Airport? And I usually see most of the hands go up. And if you sit by a window, you can look out that window and you'll see lots and lots of neighborhoods, because you know how dynamically the area around the airport has grown with communities, whether they're townhouses or condos or apartments or homes. From the air, we know those are all domiciles where people live, but they all look different when you look at their roof. And so that's the image we wanted to share with you here, is that even though we're a public school, and so our foundation is the same as every public school system, every public charter school, the four pillars make us a NHA school. And then the roof is what makes us different, the things within our roof, than any other NHA school. So we focus on what we call the Peak Triangle. Not only does a triangle make a nice roof for our graphically designed house here, but we focus not only on academics, which are the base of the triangle because they're the most important factor of us being a school, but the social and emotional wellness and support for our students as well. Especially over the last 24 months, it's been complete chaos in life for all of us. And I know you all have probably had the same experiences, or many of them, that I have as a parent. And those of you who may be educators, you've probably experienced the same thing that our students and our faculty and staff do here. But we really are committed to the social emotional wellness of our students, as well as their academic well-being. We'll talk more about that as well in those meetings that follow the lottery. And then, as you can see, there's a sun shining down upon our house, our School of Peak Charter Academy, and that's Peak's Board of Directors. The Board of Directors are the entity who originally wrote an application back in 2015 to start Peak Charter Academy. And it was approved by the state of North Carolina, and our board actually holds the charter. They're a nonprofit entity that's made of professionals from throughout the triangle, and they come together and they form the board that governs and has oversight for Peak Charter Academy, while NHA is the partner that works with the board to manage Peak on a day-to-day basis. So as I mentioned in summary, Peak is unique. If you look at the roof, if you look at the roofs when you fly into RDU Airport, every one of them is a little bit different. We're a little bit different from every other public school and every other NHA charter school, especially those in North Carolina. Each of us are unique in our own way. The four pillars that support our entire house or school building, those are the same things that are in place at every single NHA school. And our foundation is that we are truly and solely a public school. So a charter, as I mentioned, is open to everybody. They're public. There's no cost to go here. We are held highly accountable. I've worked in 2 different school systems before coming to Peak, and there is more accountability for us here operating a charter school than I ever felt when I was a teacher or an administrator in a school system. And the reason for that is Peak reports directly to the Office of Charter Schools within the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, whereas when I was in either of the counties in which I worked, we were at the school level and we report to a regional or area superintendent who reports to a deputy superintendent who reports to the superintendent who reports to the board, who then reports to the state. So there's a lot of levels where things can start to filter out and go to the wayside, where the state might not know and be aware of everything that's going on. And we thrive on that accountability and take responsibility for ourselves. I was on a phone call today with one of the charter school consultants who oversees Peak Charter Academy, just having a regular conversation with them about the great things that are happening here. We offer full comprehensive special education services. Unlike public school systems and the systems around us, we don't delineate or decide that if a child has a disability, they may only go to this school or this school. Another thing I ask folks when we're in in-person meetings is, how many of you have seen those transportation cabs? They're usually station wagons and they drive all over the place and they say official schools transportation. A lot of times those are vehicles that transport children with special needs to and from different schools, because the counties have decided if you have this disability, you may only go to this school. If you have this disability, you may go to this school, even if it's 30, 40 minutes away from your house. So that's why those cabs drive all over the triangle to drop people off. We are open to everybody. If you get picked in the lottery, we welcome you. Ability, disability, you are a member of our family, and we do our best to meet the needs for every child who's here at Peak. We also provide great support for our English language learners. The last time we did a survey here at Peak was right before COVID, but we serve families from 39 countries of origin and speak 25 languages. And for the purpose of the survey, we asked parents, were you either born in another country or was your child? And so 39 different countries. When you tour Peak, or if you've toured already, you see the map, and we have a banner over the top that says the United Nations of Peak, which is what one of our families in our first year called us. And so we love that nickname. But we are open to anybody from any country. We have comprehensive English language support as well. We have 2 different teachers that work with our English language learners that might need some additional support as they're working through their school day. And as I mentioned before, the foundation of our house is that we follow all state and federal guidelines. So I mentioned the foundation of our school are our 4 pillars. Those are the same in every NHA school. And we do have a series of meetings that comes up after the lottery. Those are April, May, June, and July, in which we talk a lot more and go much more deep into each of these areas. Our goal is really to make sure that we get to know your child. We have 760 students in our school. We don't reassign them. We don't reroute them to other schools. When you are here and you become a part of our family, you are here as long as your family wants to stay. We have families that started in 4th grade when we opened, and their children finished up 8th grade. And so every child here has the opportunity to stay and be a part of our lower elementary, our upper elementary wing, and then our middle school. As I mentioned before, my focus since I went to a workshop in 2001 has been differentiated instruction. So being a new school 5 years ago, we were really able to build our instructional focus and our practices around the types of instruction and the knowledge and the skills that I've picked up in the past 20 years. And those are actually some of the things that helped us to be recognized nationally as one of 15 model schools 2 years in a row. And we were actually invited last year to Nashville, Tennessee to teach other schools about the way we teach here at Peak. So it was a tremendous honor. We've also done that at the state level, at the charter school conferences, as well as some other local and state level entities that we were invited just to share the great things we are doing and the ways that it helps our scholars to be so successful. We also departmentalize. And what that means is that in our primary elementary grades, which are kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd, our students stay in a classroom with their teacher, except for their electives and recess and lunch. And that teacher at the primary level teaches all of their different subjects. Starting in 3rd grade, we departmentalize here as we normally do and schools normally do in middle school. But starting in 3rd grade, your child will have language arts and social studies teacher. They'll have a science teacher and a math teacher. And the great thing about that is by setting up that schedule, that's all those teachers teach all day. So each of their class periods can have a different focus. And so they have 3 90-minute blocks that they teach. And in each of those, they're teaching to a different ability level. They're differentiating to meet the needs of the scholars in that classroom. So scholars who don't have any understanding, for example, of 3rd grade math or limited understanding, they're going to be taught the 3rd grade concepts at a level that builds that foundational knowledge and helps them to develop proficiency. Scholars who have proficiency or a little bit below desired proficiency, they're going to be taught in a way that solidifies that proficiency and helps them to learn a little bit more, put more tools in their tool chest. And when we have scholars that come in that already know what they're supposed to know in 3rd grade, we don't just give them a workbook like the public school system does and say, hey, go ahead and start doing this 4th grade work while I'm working with everybody else. We work with them at a greater level of depth and complexity, which helps them to really master those skills and the knowledge that they need so they can analyze and synthesize information through project-based learning and activities and different ways to use their brains that help reinforce the knowledge and the skills that they have. So that's how differentiation really works. One of the things I did prior to coming to Peak Charter Academy, I was actually working at North Carolina State University with students who came from other countries, and it was their first year at the university. And so we were really having to differentiate there. So I've done it at the elementary, middle, and high school levels prior to coming to Peak and with college students. And here differentiation is the commitment that our entire team has, whether you're in the primary wing with Dean Eastman, the upper elementary with Dean Gorman, or in middle school with Dean Pate. And departmentalizing is something that our students love because they get to move throughout the day. They're not just sitting and fidgeting in one chair. We also offer a lot of enrichment, and we do it very uniquely as well. Like many schools, we offer art, music, PE, and technology. And the reason we offer those four is because that's what the state of North Carolina requires that we do as a part of the Common Core sequence nationally, but also North Carolina's collection of standards. And I do mention Common Core, and I would normally ask you to raise your hand if you like Common Core versus not liking Common Core. And we usually find that people say they don't like Common Core, but the reason is that it's not because it's a set of standards, but it's the way that it's taught. And that's why we made Peak have such a unique method and pedagogy, because we teach through differentiation. We departmentalize our teachers so they're teaching what their passion is, and they get to teach it all day. So they have a greater commitment to your students because they're teaching math and that's their love. They're teaching science. They're teaching English language arts. That's what they love to do. And so it's going to be a greater experience, and the students are going to love it, and they're going to have better knowledge and comprehension and better performance, which has been proven over our first 4 years. And so we teach the Common Core standards along with the 43 other states that are part of that. But it's no different than when each of us who are watching in this meeting, how we learn to drive. Every single one of us learned to drive differently, but we probably all ended up with our driver's license. And so much like the Common Core standards, the Department of Motor Vehicles has a set of standards, but you had the luxury, or your parents or guardians, whoever took care of your driving instruction, they had the luxury to teach you how they wanted. I remember going to a parking lot at the mall with my grandfather and my dad and practicing in the big parking lot so I didn't hit anything. I had a very good friend in college, and when I worked in the district, she learned to drive on her grandfather's tractor in a field. And she could still do left turn, right turn, back up, and forward, but that's where he taught her. She still learned the exact same standards that I did, but in a different way. And that's what I love about charter, is that we are able as a charter school to teach differently and uniquely and more dynamically. And that's what we've done here at Peak Charter Academy. So everybody has those quarterly specials in kindergarten through 5th grade. The difference is that we teach it quarterly. We don't do the silly ABCD day thing that many of you probably are experiencing if you have kids already in school. What that looks like for those of you who don't is that you might have art on Monday, music on Tuesday, technology on Wednesday, PE on Thursday, then you're back in art for Friday. Then the next week you have music Monday, technology Tuesday, PE Wednesday, art Thursday, and you're back to music. And it just keeps cycling 4 things over 5 days. And you do that for a quarter. The reason we don't do that is simple. We want our students to develop not only competency and proficiency, but mastery in what they're doing. And so we have them meet quarterly. So 1 quarter of the year, they will go every day to Miss Stanley for music, to Coach Myrick for PE, to Miss Landeros for technology, and to Mrs. Harrison for art. And they will do that every single day for 45 straight days. And the learning and the projects and their knowledge that they get is amazing. And the example I want to share with you as parents is, think about if you've ever gone for personal training or gone to the gym just on your own. If you go to the gym and you say, well, this week I went on Monday and Friday. Next week I only went on Tuesday. The following week I only went on Wednesday. By the end of that 45-day quarter of the year, you really only went 6 or 7 times, because there might have been a day where you had a doctor's appointment or the family was traveling, so you took Friday off from the gym or from the personal trainer. So it may have only been 5 or 6 things. The same thing happens when schools do the silly ABCD rotation. By the end of the quarter, in which your child's getting a grade in each of these things, it may have only been 6 or 7 days that they were actually with their enrichment or specials or elective teacher, whatever the school calls it. Think about if you went to the gym and you worked out with a personal trainer for 45 days straight. So that personal trainer is your fitness trainer, but think academically for your child. It's your daily music trainer. It's your PE trainer, your tech trainer, or your art trainer. Think about how dynamic the outcome is when your child can do that for 45 days. Likewise, if you go to the gym and you work with a personal trainer Monday might be leg day, Tuesday's arm day, and Wednesday you're working on cardio. Thursday, Friday are two different things, but you do that for 45 days straight, you're going to be buff. Our kids are doing this for 45 days straight, and they are artistically buff or musically buff or technology buff. And so that's why we do things like that here. I know it's different from everywhere else, but they have phenomenal success. Now in middle school, they still have art, music, PE, and technology, but we have developed a much deeper and more complex structure for them. So each quarter, the art, music, PE, and technology teachers, along with their language arts, social studies, science, and mathematics teachers, they are teaching electives that are incredibly dynamic. They are rooted in the content area that they teach, but it's something that's really exciting. My son last quarter took a whole quarter on science fiction with the science teacher. This time he has a class called Beyond Borders, learning about global communities, learning about global humanity. Yes, it's tied into language and social studies because that's the teacher that's doing it. It's actually our EL teacher, but he's going to learn these amazing, enriching things that tie into the curriculum, and he has a teacher who's certified to teach it. So that's what you're looking at when you're here in middle school, not just a repeat of what they've done in elementary school, art, music, PE, technology, or just an extension of English, math, science, social studies, where they're just doing more of that work. They're applying it and they're analyzing what they learn in their core class in these new things. One of our teachers does etymology. He's a science teacher with a fascination for bugs, if you're not familiar with etymology. We have teachers that do astronomy just because that's what they're into, and the kids pick and choose and they sign up for what they want. We also, in a traditional year, offer clubs every week. We meet for clubs on Wednesday. We have kindergarten through second grade primary elementary clubs. We have upper elementary clubs for third through fifth graders, and we have middle school clubs. And we ask our teachers to teach one club each quarter of the year. And then we send the sign-up list out to parents. And we say, at the beginning of second quarter, you can pick one club, and then you can rotate throughout the year in different quarters. And if we get to a third quarter and fourth quarter, and there's a club that hasn't been filled up, your child can join that club. We have athletics in middle school. We compete in a conference, but we also compete against non-conference schools in the area. We have boys and girls basketball and cheerleading going on now. In the fall, we had girls volleyball and boys soccer, and in the spring, we have girls soccer. We're not a large enough school to have football, and we don't have the space on our property to put in a baseball and softball field. But though we offer all of those other sports, and then we offer those students the opportunity to have clubs as well. So it's a really neat, fulfilling student life experience. And all of that helps our students to get ready, not only for high school, but then to move on to colleges or to their career. We want to make sure that they have an enriching experience holistically, the social experience, the emotional experience, and the academic and the extracurricular. So those are really the things that we focus on here because we want to get them ready for high school courses. And the way we do that is we teach some of the high school courses when they're in middle school. So if your scholar is accelerating, which that term is spelled like that for a reason, you may have seen that on our website, our students can start to take Math 1. Next year, we're looking at adding English 1, which is ninth grade English, and Science 1, which is ninth grade science. So students who leave here that are already through our program of differentiation ready to be in the next level in middle school, they can take those courses here. Then they can go in. We had students who've taken those courses and they graduated high school in 3.5 years instead of 4 because they already had credits when they left Peak. We want to get them ready. We have the one course now, subject area in math, and we're looking at adding English and science in the future, hopefully even next year if the State Department of Public Instruction will allow us to do that. The other part I mentioned before of the Peak Triangle is that social and emotional piece. Because we're 760 students, we're not a big, massive middle school or elementary school. Some of the schools in the area and some of the schools your children may be in, those of you who already have scholars in school, elementary schools are 11 to 1,200 people. Middle schools, just 3 grades, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade are 1,300, 1,400 people. And they're crammed into the building and they're crammed into trailers behind the school. And it's just such a burden on our students because they're moving through the hallways like salmon when they're trying to swim upstream to spawn every year in rivers. There's not the opportunity for them to develop those relationships with teachers because they're moving through 7 class periods every day. Ours move through 3 content area classes and then 1 or 2 electives, depending on their grade level. We also care and we teach them to care about the local and global community. So we have opportunities, which we've called since we opened, Peak Cares, which teaches our students about the world around them and the community around them. So it started in September of 2017. Some of you may remember there was a big hurricane that devastated Texas, parts of Louisiana and Mississippi. And so we started with a penny war, which is an activity in which students donate their own loose change, and they donate pennies and they get 1 point for every penny that's in their class's jar, or they can donate dimes, nickels, and quarters, and they put them in somebody else's jar, which leads to negative points for that class. And so long story short, we raised, I think it was $2,600 in loose change from our children. The rule was it had to be their change. They couldn't ask mom and dad for a check or for a $20 bill or anything like that. They brought it in. The winning grade level had a celebration, but we also were able to give that right to the American Red Cross and send a check to Texas to benefit families that were in need. And we've done something like that every month since we've been open. And it really helps our children to look through the window, not look in a mirror. They're focused on what is outward rather than inward. And this is the time when they're in middle school to help plant those seeds and sow the care for others and the empathy for others. So we really do focus on that here. Another thing people ask about charter schools is, are we as accountable as schools in the public system? And what I would share with you is that I feel, as the principal and as the founder of the school, employee-wise, we are more accountable. Some of you may or may not know that charter schools are only required to have 75% of their elementary age teachers to actually be certified as a teacher, and 50% of their middle school teachers. One of the things we focus on is we make sure that our teachers are certified when they go into a classroom, or they're eligible to be certified. And what I mean by that is that sometimes we have teachers who move from out of state, or they're a new teacher and they've applied for their license, but we know they have the degree and they will get that license. Or we know that they hold a license from another state and they have that matriculation agreement with Department of Public Instruction, but it takes 8 to 12 weeks to get that license because there's so many teachers in North Carolina now. So we make sure that they are actually a teacher before we hire them. We don't just say, hey, Bob, you worked at IBM and you got laid off. Why don't you come teach math? And that happens at tons and tons of charter schools and even in the public school system. We also have a very strong interview process. We bring teachers in. They not only interview with National Heritage Academies with the talent acquisition department, they have their background check and their performance and their professional background check certified. And why I separate personal and professional is that we do deep background checks on our staff. So we don't have people in a school building that shouldn't be in a school building. We then bring people into the school, we interview them, then we turn around and we bring them back and we ask them to design, develop, and teach a lesson in one of our classrooms. And so they actually come in and they work with students, and we want to see, because we know if our talent acquisition team in NHA is sending us a teacher, they are able to work here. We want to make sure that they're a fit to work here. So there's a higher level of expectation. We don't do as I did when we were in the school system and just find out that somebody has a teaching license and hire them on the spot. That happens at the county job fair all the time. I was an administrator in the county, and if you found somebody that was math or science or special ed or the other hard to fill positions, you gave them a contract on the spot without ever seeing them in a classroom, without ever evaluating them. That's not good enough for Peak Charter. And so we make sure our faculty and staff that are here not only are qualified to be here, but they fit our culture and our community. And I mentioned culture. National Heritage Academies has what they call Eagle Awards. We've actually, if you come by the school, you'll see our case at the front of the school. In the first 4 years that we're open, We have lots and lots of these Eagle Awards, which recognizes the top 10% of all schools throughout the nation. And we've won Eagle Awards for employee accountability, which means employee satisfaction. We've won Eagle Awards 2 years in a row for safety, and that's the only 2 years that that's award's been given. In the last 2 years, we've been named an NHA School of Excellence. We have enrollment and attendance awards. So all of those things are available, and it's because of the great work that our faculty and staff does with our students and our parents. And so it's just a validation to our team for the great things that they're doing here. And we require ongoing professional development. We create professional development to fit what our teachers need to know for the modern student in modern times, such as teaching during a pandemic. I mentioned our deans before. Some of you may be wondering why we don't call them assistant principals, and it's because they're more than that. Our deans are the principal for each of their wings, kindergarten through second grade, third through fifth, and middle school. They not only provide the teachers with support and coaching, it's because they have been master teachers, teachers of excellence. They also work and communicate with parents. They work to counsel and support our students. They get to know our students because they are responsible for what's going on in their wing, not the whole school as an assistant principal would be. We mentioned moral focus earlier. We talked about that. The virtues are a part of what we do every day. We've created our school schedule, and I have one here, and it's a little chaotic to look at, but every single day, I'm sorry, I had it upside down. The very top where it's yellow, that is our moral focus class period. And that happens every single day, even today when we had remote instruction because there was too much ice near our campus and on our campus. Our teachers engage our scholars in a moral focus lesson about perseverance. There's one virtue per month and it changes. We have assemblies in times of that are not pandemic related. We gather our students, but as I mentioned before, we're not clustering students because we want to avoid spread. And we've done a really good job with that. So they can do virtual meetings. The dean can go online and everybody within the wing can log on. We are one-to-one with Chromebooks per student. Students can log on individually, or the teacher can project the meeting on the board so every class can participate. Moral focus is the start of every day, and it drives the culture here at Peak. And all of that is because that fourth pillar I shared with you, the student responsibility and student accountability. We want to make sure our students engage not only in their work, but in their relationships with their teachers and with their classmates. Not only do they learn personal responsibility and accountability, they learn what are natural consequences. So if you make the choice to do this, this is the outcome, whether it's a positive thing or a negative thing. And we are a positive behavior support school. So we teach our students what we want and need them to do, not what we don't want them to do. So if we, for example, see students running down the hall, we don't wag our finger like teachers did when I was a kid, and maybe you, and yell, "Stop running in the hall." We say, "Hey, Johnny, hey, Sally, please walk in the hall. It's much more safe." They get the same message, but they get it with a message of care and a commitment to their well-being. I mentioned parent partnership again. You are welcome here in the school. Our teachers will connect with you. They will communicate. We have a parent portal that you can see online. You can send your teachers a message. You can send the dean or me a message, or our office staff. We do the community events, whether they're Peak Cares programs, sometimes out in the community. We did, for example, a program called Bikes for the World. That's a partner of the Peak United Methodist Church on Salem Street next to Thales. They collect and rebuild bicycles to send part of them into the local community for people who don't have cars or transportation, so they can ride to and from work. And they also send them globally to help people in impoverished countries so they have a bicycle and can get around. We also do community events. Our Peak PTO is fabulous. They are true partners with us, and they are true partners to support parents who are new to our community. They have a great Facebook page. I actually linked to it the other day. So you can check that out and you can see all the fabulous things they're doing. And as I mentioned, we ask you to come meet with or virtually meet with your child's teachers twice a year, once in the fall, once in the spring. For our second semester, that actually just started this week because we've completed the first semester of the school. Grades come out this week, and we want you to partner with your child's teachers to say, how can I help? What can the teacher do to help you as the parent, help your child to be successful? And how can we work to support your child to be the best that they can be? The way we look at partnership here at Peak is that think about a bridge, and a bridge connects two solid surfaces on both sides of a gorge or a river, whatever it may be. So the school is one side, home is the other, and that bridge lays across the top. If either the home or the school don't do their job and start to crumble, the bridge doesn't work like it's supposed to. So that's how we think about things here. We want to partner with you. A little bit about Peak Charter. If we were in person, I'd ask how many of you have toured the school. Jen is our fabulous school ambassador. She's answering questions in the chat field now, and she can direct you to the website. If you want to take a tour of Peak Charter Academy, please make sure you sign up to do that before our lottery. After the lottery, only families who have been given a seat at Peak are going to be able to tour, because we want them to be able to tour within the time frame that they have to accept their seat. We opened in 2017. We reached full growth last year. We have 4 sections of kindergarten, 3 sections of everybody in grades 1st through 8. We're not getting bigger. Please don't ever fear that we're doing what the county school systems have, in which they say they have a certain number of students in their rooms, and then they add a quarter more. When I was a teacher in the county, we were told that we would never have more than 24 students in our classroom. I never had a class that was fewer than 32, and sometimes I had classes that were as big as 38. I had students literally sitting on the floor on pillows that parents would donate or the kids would bring with them as they went around to classes. So because we're a charter school, we have what's called a hard cap or a solid cap, and that's as big as we're getting. So next year, our kindergarten is going to be 22 students per classroom, and in grades 1 through 8, there's a cap of 28. Now, at the beginning of the year, we always admit 1 more student per class, because there are always families that move when school starts. We have to keep their seat open for 10 days. So we make sure we have a student that can fill that seat when we open. But as the year progresses, we don't do that. Some of you who may have been to the school, we have a security system in place. We have our doors are locked all the time. You can't just knock on a door and expect to get in. And we don't prop side doors or back doors or anything like that. We have what's called the Raptor management system. So when you come into school to visit the school, you will scan your driver's license, and we get all the information we need from that little QR barcode that goes across the back. You are immediately scanned against the databases that hold the information about all the people that should not be around children or who have a criminal background. I don't want to go into detail because I don't know anybody has children with them, but we know there are people that harm children, and we don't want them anywhere near our school, or who have criminal backgrounds for other reasons, and we don't let them in our school. We have cameras in every classroom and in every public area, and our access is limited to the front door. You have to ring the doorbell, which turns on the camera, which projects inside our office so we can see you and we know why you're here. We can let you into the vestibule, as those of you who have been here know. If you've done a tour, you know that Jen meets you and then she escorts you into the building. That vestibule is locked and secure. You can't get into the office or the building because those doors are locked and they're remote controlled. The window automatically can lock that you may have discussed. Anything shared with Jen or Hannah or Shauna in our office that you're here for a tour, those close immediately. And all of our windows have shatter resistant coatings on them that make sure that if a projectile is coming towards the window, they can't be easily opened. And all of that is because we make a commitment to you as a part of our family at Peak. When you join our family, you're here for the long run. You can be here through 8th grade for every child that you have until the last one is done with 8th grade. You're part of it. And we have families whose children are in high school that we still connect with and talk with, and they'll bring their kids by just to say hello. Our goal is to make sure that we create good students, but great people. And that's what we want to share with you. The lottery is coming up. That's going to be an online lottery. More information will be shared with you, but it's through YouTube, just like you're watching now. It's going to be conducted live at 2 p.m. Monday, March 7th. Don't worry if you're not able to be online, because you will be communicated with as soon as the lottery ends. One thing we will share with you is that at the time of the lottery, we often only have seats in kindergarten. That's because our 8th grade students leave and every grade level moves to the next level for the purpose of the lottery. So kindergarten is the only area where we have no students in. Every once in a while, we have families who know they're moving at the end of the year, or they're transitioning elsewhere, or there's been a family separation and the kids are going to be with dad instead of mom, or mom instead of dad. So we may have a few other seats scattered in each grade. They will announce that as the lottery, but please don't worry about that. As I'll share in a video at the beginning of the lottery, because summertime is when we usually learn about our transitions, because that's when families know if mom or dad gets a new job and they move and it's too far away from peak, or there may be a family separation or a family reconciliation and it doesn't work anymore, or a job shift has changed. So usually over the summer, and in the summer, you will be immediately notified by Jen or Shauna or Hannah in our office that, hey, there's a spot, or we anticipate there's a spot and you're in the top 5 on the wait list. If it comes over, you take it. And so that way you can tell them you'll do it. And all of that is based in the lottery, but by state law, you have to apply online by 5 p.m. on February 28th, 2022. And so that information, you can mark your calendar. If you've not applied yet, go to peakcharteracademy.com. There's a big apply now button. Click that. You can fill out the information. If you have siblings, make sure you note that as well, because if one sibling gets in, as of last year's lottery, the other sibling moves towards the top of the wait list. We are now allowed to give, we've always been required to give enrollment preference to children of anybody who works here or is on our board. But the second preference that's allowed now is a sibling preference. And so if one child gets in, even if the sibling was number 312, they move up towards the top of the grade level as high as they can go behind any other siblings that may already be on it. And so that's a great way to jump. So what we always tell families is, if one child gets in and the other is waitlisted, please hang with us. Let that first child go in, because the other child is moving up and they're very close to getting in as well. We've always told that to families. In the past, it was the other child stays at 312 and it would be very hard to get them both in realistically. But now that the law changed, we do have a sibling preference. So it's a great benefit to you as our future families. And so that's what I have to share with you. I see that Jen has been answering questions. I'm going to flip through real quick just to make sure. It's been wonderful to have you all here. You're welcome to email Jen or me at any time. And I'm just going to scroll through, Jen. And if you didn't answer, I'm going to have a quick look. Yes, lottery, Oscar, is by grade level. It's actually when the student's name comes up, they get assigned to the open spot or the wait list in that grade level. So it's actually drawing individual names. And then what would happen if one child gets a spot? As we shared before, as soon as you accept that spot for one child, the siblings move as high as they can on the wait list. And also, as I mentioned earlier, no matter who the child is, whether they have an ability or a disability, we offer support for them with IEPs. And as I see your question also asks about students who are labeled gifted, we actually don't do gifted pullout. In my 22 years, I've only worked with one gifted teacher who I felt did a good job serving and supported students who were labeled gifted based on their end of grade test, because she would actually work with them on higher level learning. All the other teachers I've worked with at the schools I've worked with in 2 different counties would literally give them, if they were in 3rd grade, a 4th grade workbook and tell them to practice, or tell them just work on this 3rd grade stuff and do as much as you can. We actually serve and support gifted students through our model and commitment to differentiated instruction. So if a student demonstrates that they have higher level skills and knowledge, we can move them at any time into that tier where children are getting that challenge and that enrichment. They're still learning and focusing on their grade level standards, but they may be, through Accelerate, doing the next grade level work as well. So my son, for example, is in 7th grade, and he's doing 7th and 8th grade math combined so he can take high school math next year. And thank you, Jen. I see that you have answered that. I'm rolling through. Thank you all for your patience. Positive cases, we do not require testing, but as soon as somebody is positive, we do record that and we report that. We have a spreadsheet that we are required to note who's positive, and we identify any close contacts who've been around them. We clean at least 3 times a day all of the touch points in the school. If you're on a tour, you'll see our custodians wiping and spraying doorknobs. Every classroom has this fabulous purple spray, as we call it. And the purple spray is a COVID cleaner. It kills bacteria and germs, including COVID. And so at the end of every day, our teachers mist and spray in their rooms, as do custodians. And during the day, any high touch surfaces like doorknobs or thresholds or anything, push bars to leave the school, all of those are washed down 3 times a day. In the lunchroom, anytime students get up from a table, we wash the tables, and our administrative team and our lunch staff are also in there, and we help with that as well. I'm just going to keep going through. Thank you, Jen, for answering that. There's a question about gifted, so hope I was able to answer that for you. The number of open slots won't be available until after the 28th, because we'll have all the applications, and at the time of the lottery, we will announce the number of open spots that happened up to that day. So at the beginning of the lottery, our enrollment and admissions team will announce we have this number in kindergarten and any others in 1st through 8th grade. And I'm scrolling through. My son is here as well. I see Jen answered that her kids are here. Casey Gorman, who's our upper elementary dean, her children are all here. Shauna Meyer, who's our registrar, her daughter's here, and her older daughter is in high school but was here. Hannah Carter, who's our front desk office administrator, who many of you may have met, her kids are here, as are the children of many of our teachers and staff. Divya, I see the question about the age of a student in the lottery process for kindergarten. As long as your child is 5 years old by the time school starts, or August 31st is actually the state law. So if they're 5 by August 31st, they are eligible for kindergarten. Oh, thanks, Jen. I scrolled down more and I see you have that. Lunch program. Yes, hot lunch is made on campus every day. The menus are available online. We will tell you that this year, because of COVID, sometimes the published menu differs a little bit. So we always recommend that if you have a picky eater, that you may pack a lunch with them. So in case it's supposed to be pizza day and it ends up being barbecue chicken day. The reason for that is just like everything else in the retail sector. Sometimes the food delivery trucks, they bring the food and it's been prepared in an offsite kitchen and it's flash frozen. And then we have the ovens here that our kitchen staff then cook the meals and then they serve them. And for safety, they're in an individual portion controlled container. So much like what you see, not to compare it to airplane food, but if you've gotten a meal on the airplane where you peel the edge back, that's what they have here, because that way it meets all of the National Food Healthy School guidelines. So they know it's X ounces of broccoli and however much barbecue chicken or how many cheese dippers, the cheese-filled pizza sticks that we have. So all of those things are in there. When we do, one of the most popular meals is the breakfast for lunch. And so they'll do turkey sausage, pancakes, and you have a syrup. And they do tend to do things like, when they can, things are sugar-free or low calorie, because they do have to follow the Healthy Schools guidelines. But you can always bring that. We are not a nut-free facility, but we are nut-free in our classrooms. We do have separate tables available if your child does have a nut allergy or another strong food allergy, that just send a note to school and we let your child sit at the tables that are perpendicular to the regular lunch table. We have the rows of tables that go this way, and then we have individual tables along the side, and those are also washed and cleaned with the cleaner that is also a COVID spray between every lunch period. But we just make sure that only students who we know have that allergen, then they can sit at that table. Let's see, I'm scrolling through everything else. Physical education, great question, Crystal. We give a 30-minute recess every day, even through middle school. So our scholars always get a snack break during the day. Sometimes it's a working snack, especially with the older students, where they may have their teachers setting up the workshop instruction, the small group instruction. Then they're broken into their small groups. And he or she may just say, okay, while you're in small group number one, which may last 10 to 12 minutes, go ahead and do your snack. Those are in the classroom. Again, they're nut free. If a student in that classroom has another allergy, I know we have one room where they have any tree nut. We post on the door that no tree nuts can be brought into that classroom. Or berries, different kind of berries. We then send a note home to parents and say, in that class, no, one was trying to think, blueberries, but not other berries. So we just send a note home with that class period. Please do not send blueberries or peanuts or peanut butter during this class period. So we do that as well. So physical education, they have 1 quarter per year at minimum. Sometimes in the middle school, students have a class where they've signed up for PE again, and every student has already taken it. And so they can get a second class of PE, but they get open, unstructured recess. It is structured and supervised, but they're able to play on the field. They're able to play on the asphalt surface where we have basketball, we have gaga ball, and then sometimes they're just creating other things as well. And that's how we do it. So they, even in middle school, they have 30-minute lunch and 30-minute recess every day plus a snack. We're good to go. And then I see your question too. We compete in we just had an email about competing in Battle of the Books for academics. There are other sessions that were activities that we get invited to participate in as well. It depends on the number of students that want to do it. And then, as I mentioned before, we have girls volleyball, boys soccer in the fall, boys and girls basketball, and co-ed cheerleading. If any boys want to participate in the winter, girls soccer in the spring. And we compete against our sister NHA schools, Johnston Charter, Preeminent Charter, Research Triangle Charter, as well as non-conference schools, 2 of which are NHA, which are Wake Forest and Rollsville, and then other charter schools that are in the surrounding area. We also play against them. And that looks like all the questions. So thanks so much for joining us. If you do have any other questions, I know sometimes I go to things and then 5 minutes later, I'm like, oh, I should have asked that. So yes, we do have music class. That's one of our electives. In the past, we have had students interested in instrumental music. We've had a rock band in the past where we called it Rock the Plank because we're the Pirates. And we had enough middle school students that played their own instruments and were competent enough and comfortable enough to play in front of others and with others. So some years we've had it and some years we haven't. It depends on the students. We offer drama. Drama is one of the classes we're doing this 3rd quarter. We've done choir in the past. The kindergarten through 5th grade music is the traditional standards that are available online. But then middle school, it really depends on the student interest, and we survey the kids and we want to find out what they have. We do offer foreign language, and that is through right now, because we're a smaller school, we partner with, in the past, we partnered with North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, and we may do that next year to offer 8th grade language, middle school language that would help lead them into high school. One of the great things about being a charter, for example, if we have students who transfer in and they've already had Math 1, we can offer Math 2 through the virtual public school, and they stay in the same classroom with the Math 1 students. So they have physical supervision, but they can work with a North Carolina virtual public school teacher, and they just plug in their headphones and they go live on their Chromebook. We also do that for foreign language through a partnership with an organization called Mango, which helps get them ready for their high school courses. So in the past, there has been students who, I'm trying to think, we've done Spanish, German, Mandarin, French, and there's a 5th that's escaping me right now. But it's been that option and that choice for them because of our partnership with Mango. They do several different language programs that then they can go rock it in high school because they've already had. We also do have a before school and after school that's available on our website. If you go on our website, and I'm going to pull it up right now, so excuse my typing. I'm going to tell you where to get that information. Go to peakcharteracademy.com or .org. And if you go to Beyond the Classroom, the third header across the top, before and after school care is provided by a partner organization called CREW. It's a former employee of ours. It's not just a random group we brought in. And she runs before after school care company now. So they start in the morning at 6:45 for drop off, 6:45 to 7:30 when other students come in. And we also do after school care until 6 p.m. Thank you for the CREW link. And I'll wait a minute for any other questions. We thank you so much for coming. We're so excited that you've applied to join our pirate crew at Peak. It's been great to be able to interact with you, at least digitally. We hope that the COVID spike will decline as it's anticipated to in late February, early March, and then we can start having meetings in person for our families who've gotten in. We do live stream those as well in the past, but also have done those in person. If you haven't got a tour yet, please schedule those before the lottery. After the lottery, the tours are only able to be for families who actually got a seat in Peak, and we'll do that through the summer. As you come off the wait list and have a seat, or if you get a seat in the lottery, then we'll make sure you have an opportunity to take a tour. So thanks so much for being here. I don't see any other questions that we haven't answered. You all have been amazing. Thanks for being here and for working with us as we have to go live through the digital portal with you. We just want to make sure, as we do during the day, all of our students have assigned seats in their classrooms. They actually have assigned seats in the lunchroom as well. We have actually just adjusted our lunchroom where we only have 2 grade levels for 18 tables in the lunchroom. So we really try to spread them out quite a bit. And then for middle school, all of our middle school eats together because we can't decrease their instructional time any longer. So what we're able to do for them is spread their tables apart even more. And we did that because middle school is the group that's had the opportunity to get their COVID vaccine the longest. And so we have that as well. And we really, our commitment to safety, while it'd be great to be honored again as a top 10th percentile for safety across the nation by NHA, we do it anyway because that's our commitment to you as our families. So. Oh, perfect. Thank you for throwing that up because I forgot. Please, please, please come in person. Edgar at CC's has been amazing. He lets us have meetings at CC's just to meet all of you. February 15th, it's a Tuesday morning. We'll be there at 9:30. You can come ask us anything you want. I know at these meetings, it's hard to ask anything specific about your family or your child. So that's a great time to ask anything that's on your mind. We've got some little handouts and different goodies for you. But please stop by, and then CC's will open right after the meeting, and they'd love if you would stick around and have lunch. So thanks for being here, and we're going to close things out, and we appreciate you joining us. Feel free to email or definitely come to CC's on the 15th to ask anything that's on your mind. And Jen and I would love to meet you in person. So thanks so much. That is 13 days before the lottery. So great time to ask whatever questions by the application deadline. The lottery is 3 weeks after that. So great time to have any questions you need answered. Thanks so much. Have a great night. Be safe out there on the roads.